This is the Highly Sensitive Club, episode number 21. Have you been told you're too sensitive, too dramatic, or too much? Do you have big feelings and deep thoughts you don't always know what to do with? I'm Stephanie Lynn, a certified life coach and highly sensitive person. I've helped dozens of highly sensitive clients feel more energized, more confident, and more in control of their high sensitivity. In these episodes, you'll get the information and inspiration to level up your life as a highly sensitive person too. Welcome to the Highly Sensitive Club. Hello, highly sensitive person, and welcome to this week's episode of the Highly Sensitive Club. I am on fire this week, as I often am, because I love sharing things that are currently on my radar and things that I have been learning and incorporating into my own life. And this one really hit home this week. So I am very excited to talk to you about how to heal your money story as a highly sensitive person. And here's why this is so important for you. Because as a highly sensitive person, part of the 20% of the population that has the high sensitivity gene, actually multiple genes, you feel things more intensely than a neurotypical person. With our brand of neurospicy with high sensitivity, we tend to feel things at least a few numbers higher on every scale than a neurotypical person does. So if you have guilt or shame or self-judgment or self-pity or doubt around your financial decisions, around money, around your relationship with your money or debt or with credit or investments or whatever it is, your relationship with wealth, your relationship with not having wealth, and all the things that can bring up, this can be very intense for you. Where a neurotypical person might feel maybe a 4 out of 10 intensity on their guilt or their shame around financial decisions, you as a highly sensitive person are probably feeling a 6 or a 7 for the exact same decisions or very similar circumstances, because we feel more intensely and we process so many more thoughts than a neurotypical person. So here is why I'm bringing this up today. I love to read. It is one of my absolute favorite things. And I like to have a mix of audiobooks and print books. So while I have been out driving lately, I've been listening to a fabulous book that my mentor recommended called We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rogers, who is the founder of Hello 7, if you're an entrepreneur who might have heard of that company. And I loved the book. The first chapter was about mindset, and I thought, I've got that covered. And then the rest of the book was just full of tons of wisdom and facts and statistics and all kinds of interesting things. And I could do a whole episode just on the book and all of the insights that I got from it. But the one thing that she said that really stuck out to me was that so often, especially women, are shamed for their financial decisions. And we're told that we are just overspenders. And maybe you've internalized some messages from people that you respect and authority figures who have said things like, if you have debt, then you're selfish or you're irresponsible or you're lazy. How could you possibly get yourself in that situation? Or maybe you have made some decisions that you don't necessarily like, that you maybe would have done something differently if you could go back and do it again. I don't know a single person who hasn't made a financial decision at some point that they don't regret a little bit later, whether that's taking out debt, whether it's making an investment that didn't pan out, whether it's spending money that they didn't necessarily get a lot of return on, or they didn't get the experience they were hoping for. And even in some cases, it could be saving money instead of spending it on the thing that really would have brought a lot of joy and satisfaction and fulfillment to their lives. We all have money regrets and money stories, and we all have really wonderful decisions and really wonderful experiences with money as well that we can draw on. So we can choose where we want to put our focus. And the interesting thing about this is that as highly sensitive people, we have internalized a lot of these messages about these financial decisions, and we make it mean something about us. And then we take on these monikers like, I'm just an overspender, or I spend too much, or, I just have the latte habit, right? And I loved what Rachel Rogers says about that latte cliche that everybody talks about, that, if you just gave up your lattes, which just feel so frivolous and luxurious, then you could save all of this money and then you could get yourself out of debt faster, or you could save for a house or buy a car or whatever it is that they say you're supposed to be doing with your money instead. And she makes this great point that a lot of times this whole idea that you should give up your latte in order to scrimp and save and sacrifice even more than you probably are in order to get something in the long term is kind of an outdated notion. And it goes along with this idea that we're supposed to sacrifice our lives and we're supposed to sacrifice our work-life balance and work for 20 or 30 or 40 years so that we can retire and then we can enjoy our lives at the end. And what she says, and I completely agree with her about this, is that we are meant to live and enjoy our lives now. And that means if you have a small luxury like a latte, maybe that's not a luxury for you. Maybe that's just something you want to incorporate in your day. And it just makes you feel delicious and abundant and so good and like you're taking care of yourself. Whatever that is for you, you don't necessarily have to scrimp and save. Now, I'm going to be able to argue this point as soon as I'm finished with this story, but I just loved what she said about how some of the financial gurus will tell you that you are irresponsible or selfish for having debt. And she says a lot of times women will take out debt so that they can take care of themselves, so that they can pay for expenses, unexpected expenses. Lots of people take out debt for that reason. Maybe they take out debt for helping someone that they loved who's in a tight financial situation. I find that I tend to be what Gretchen Rubin calls an underspender. I very rarely buy clothes for myself, and I tend to wear my shoes and my clothes many years after they're probably in good shape anymore. But I just love them so much, and I take a lot of care and I take a lot of time to choose the things that I wear and that I keep in my life consistently. So I don't often buy clothes. I maybe buy my favorite coconut milk decaf latte from Starbucks once a week or once every couple of weeks. I don't really buy a lot of stuff online. And I often get myself into a little bit of trouble because at times when I could be buying a couple of something or three of something so that I can save myself some trouble later, I'll buy one because I feel like that's what I need. So I don't have this overspending problem. And yet I have found myself internalizing that message that because I've had debt or because I have loans that I'm paying back, that I've done something wrong. And the story just doesn't line up. And what Rachel Rodgers says is that instead of shaming people and telling them that they need to scrimp and save and sacrifice, what if instead we actually taught them how to be creative and how to create more income and how to bring in more money so that they can pay for their lattes, but they can pay for whatever else they want to? It's like the parable about giving someone a fish versus teaching them to fish. I believe the saying goes, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. It's exactly like that. We're telling people, well, if you take the tail off or if you take off the meaty bits and then you can save the fish for later, instead of saying, why don't I teach you how to fish and then you can have more fish. You can have as many fish as you want. I love talking about money. I love talking about wealth. I love talking about our mindsets about money. I love pushing the boundaries and talking and having conversations about this taboo topic because money is in all of our lives and it's energy. It's the way that we represent how we value ourselves and what we value in the world. In a lot of ways, it's the power that we have. What we put our money into is what we believe in. It reflects our values. So money really is an integral part of all of our lives, even though I know some people wish it wasn't. But it's just a representation of the way that you are being in the world. And who you are with no money is going to be probably the same person you are with money or vice versa. So there are great people who have money and there are corrupt people who have money. There are also great people who don't have money and lots of corrupt people who don't have money. Who you are as a person does not necessarily change when the money is involved. Now, this again struck home for me because I'm going to share something a little vulnerable here. I had about $16,000 of credit card debt that I had been carrying for a long time, left over from college, had all the guilt and shame associated with it. Ended up getting some help from parents sporadically. One of them was helping me. She was matching payments. Thanks, Mom. And I was able to take out a personal loan at a much, much lower interest rate so that I could clean up all of my credit card debt. And I felt so free. And I felt so proud of myself that I had come up with a way to pay back that money in regular, steady installments. And I let go of that shame about having the consumer debt. And as I have gone into a completely different industry, I have gotten premium training to get my certification for coach training. I'm investing in myself in programs. I have bought money courses. I've bought entrepreneurship coaches and courses. I've bought time courses. I've bought copywriting courses. I've paid for group coaching programs. I've paid for retreats. I've paid for so many things that were actually investments in me and in my mind, in my brain, in my creativity, in skills that have then helped me turn around and make more money. So it's an interesting thing. And Rachel Rodgers talks about this. And I've also heard Brooke Castillo talk about this too, that a lot of times, because we have all of this guilt and shame around the debt, we tend to perpetuate our guilt cycles and we tend to perpetuate our debt cycles because we feel so much negative emotion. We end up running to the coping mechanisms of debt and consuming and maybe overspending that we're trying to get away from in the first place, and it becomes the self-fulfilling cycle. And both of them talk about this other idea that sometimes it's okay to have the debt because you're investing in something else. You're investing in yourself. You're investing in your experiences. We have this one life to live. And sometimes it's a good investment to take out a little bit of debt. Think about a lease on a car or a mortgage on your house, or if you have a college degree, getting student loans so that you can get that degree. All of those things are considered quote unquote good investments. But consumer debt, where you might be using a credit card because you don't have any other access to those funds, is considered quote unquote bad debt. So what if it's all just neutral? What if debt is neutral? What if your money decisions in the past or the present and the future are all neutral? And instead, you can change your mindset to help you make more money, start a side gig, sell things that you don't use anymore and that you don't enjoy so that you can make some of that money back. And then you can turn around and spend it or save it or invest it guilt-free, and you don't have to worry about it. That's where I am now. I have taken out debt again because I wanted to invest in my brain. I wanted to invest in skills. And I've had some thoughts about that too, which is why I'm bringing it up today, because I felt it. And I know people in my life have also felt a lot of that doubt and that shame and that guilt that, oh, I've done something wrong. I have to get rid of this as quickly as possible. And I want to challenge you to think about the idea that maybe you don't. Maybe you don't have to get out of it as quickly as possible. Maybe it's okay for you to pay the minimums for a little while you're learning a new skill, while you're taking better care of yourself, while you're resting or recovering or doing the things that you need to do. My mentor, Emily Otto, talks about this as well. She got this from her mentor, so I'm passing on the wisdom and kind of standing on the shoulders of giants. But it's the idea that debt is just money that was there for you when you needed it. So if you don't have, a few $1,000s sitting around in the bank waiting for you to spend it or earmarked for this thing, maybe that's something you can build towards in the future, which is definitely something I want to do. It's okay that you took out some debt so that you could cover something that you needed to cover, or so that you could gain skills now that will then boost you and jumpstart you towards bringing in more money so that you can change careers if you want to. Follow your passions and your dreams, or start a new business, or start a side gig, or start making something and selling it on Etsy. Whatever it is for you, being able to have an outlet for your creativity and your purpose and your passion and just trying new things might actually be a really good use of your debt. Now, here's the caveat that I mentioned earlier, because as a highly sensitive person and a heavy processor, sometimes I consider myself a bit of a sophist, which means that I can argue both sides of an argument or a discussion. And there is a place. I'm never going to tell you that a concept or a technique is not useful, because for some people it is, or in some circumstances or some seasons it will be. So if you find that you are overspending and you are making decisions that you don't feel good about with your money because you're doing it impulsively, or you're doing it because you're numbing out from an emotion that you don't want to feel, or you're doing it on autopilot and you're not being very present to the way that you're spending your money or saving your money or investing your money or taking out debt, then maybe it would be a good idea for you to take some of the principles of quote unquote the latte effect, meaning skimping or saving or cutting something out in order to get a long-term benefit. Maybe that would be useful to you. So I'm not going to say that this is something you should never use. And I mean, I've read the book. I found some use out of it as well. And there could be another way for you. So the key with each of these things, whether it's deciding that you want to be more intentional with the way that you're spending or the way that you're investing or the way you're taking out debt so that you can get towards a long-term goal rather than some short-term gains, that's great. And if you also want to use some debt, use some savings, get a personal loan, get a private loan, get a bank loan, get a grant, get a scholarship so that you can do the thing that you really want to do and start doing it as quickly as possible. That's only going to help you become more of the person that you want to be. And I want you to know that it's okay to do that. It's something that I've decided to do, and I'm continually working on this all the time and working on my thoughts that I've made an investment in myself. I've actually made a lot of investments in myself, and most of the highly sensitive people I know have done the same thing. We're invested in growing. We're invested in improving our lives, improving ourselves, improving our health and our relationship and our time and our careers and our work and every area of our lives. If you're listening to this episode, you are probably one of those people too. So whatever your past money story is, whatever guilt or regret or shame that you have about a decision that you made in the past, I want you to forgive yourself. Forgiveness does not mean that you're going to, quote unquote, condone the behavior or repeat it and just say, oh, well, what I did is okay. Or if someone else did that, that's okay. No, the idea is to forgive yourself and to say, I learned something from this. I'm taking something from this that has given me wisdom and experience, and I'm bringing that into my current life now and into my future. I love the saying, you either win or you learn, but you never lose unless you quit. And that's exactly what you can do here. You can heal your relationship with your past experiences with money. You can forgive yourself for the decisions that you may not make now if you had to make them again. But then by having that compassion for yourself, by accepting yourself for making those decisions and loving yourself anyway, that's when you can actually make progress. Whether that's snowballing your debt and paying it off as quickly as possible, or paying off your high interest loans as quickly as possible and doing the debt avalanche technique, whatever that might be or look like for you, or whether that means you invest in yourself and take out some temporary debt so that you can grow your skills, grow your brain, practice new beliefs, get support, get coaching, join communities, have experiences, go to retreats so that you can grow as a person. That's valuable too. Both of these directions and both of these paths make sense. I've been on both of them at different times in my life, and they're both very fulfilling when you can be present with yourself, you can be okay with the decisions that you're making and fully own them and know that you're going to be okay. You're okay now, you were probably okay in the past, and you're going to continue to be okay in the future. Time is a finite resource, but money will keep coming back to you. Money is an infinite resource, and it reflects the energy that you're putting into the world and that you expect to receive back. This is really crucial stuff. Now, again, as a highly sensitive person, I know if you have any guilt or shame or regret over some past experiences, you are probably your own worst enemy. Your brain is probably on overdrive, thinking about all the ways you should have done things differently and trying to rewrite the past and making yourself feel bad and then anticipating bad things happening in the future so that you can try and prevent something that hasn't happened in advance. And you're probably spinning yourself in circles. You're probably driving yourself crazy with all of these self-judgments that are ending up keeping you stuck or keeping you perpetuating cycles that you know are not good for you, but they're what's familiar and they're what your brain is comfortable with. And so it keeps repeating those cycles. I want you to know that whatever you've done in the past, it wasn't crazy, it wasn't irresponsible, it wasn't lazy, it wasn't weak. You didn't make a bad decision for you. You made a decision that you can learn from, and ultimately it made sense. This is crucial. I want you to know that the choices you made sense at the time with the thoughts that you were thinking, the feelings you were feeling, and the actions and the information and what you had available to you at the time. It made sense. You're not crazy and you didn't do anything wrong. You're not a bad person for making some financial decisions that you don't like. In fact, everyone does. And I want you to try on the rule that it's okay to mess up with your money sometimes. Sometimes it's okay to make a decision that doesn't work out the way you wanted it to. It's okay to make mistakes. Try on these thoughts. It's okay for me to make a mistake. It's okay for me to make a different choice with my money. It's okay to do things differently now. It's okay for me to break the cycle. It's okay for me to own this decision and still do something different. It's okay for me to love who I am right now, have compassion for my past self, and then go into my future with that same love and compassion and continue to move it forward. All of these things are okay. Now, I hope that this was helpful to you today, because I know your brain is probably on overdrive. You process a lot, you feel your intentions and your emotions so deeply, and you're picking up all this stuff from the outside world, whether that's the social media apps like TikTok and Instagram, or whether it's conversations with your loved ones, or things you're overhearing at the coffee shop or at the office, or while you're out running errands. We're taking in information all the time, and we take in way more information on a day-to-day basis than a neurotypical person does. You are not crazy. And it makes sense that as you're taking in all this information and you're trying to process it and you're trying to figure out what works best for you, that sometimes you make decisions that aren't necessarily in your highest good. It's okay. We all do. You can absolutely recover from any decision. You can come back from it and you can love and accept yourself no matter what decision you've made. And from that place, then you make progress and then you make better choices from your wiser self moving into the future. I hope that this episode was helpful for you, and I hope that my story maybe inspires you a little bit to be more forgiving and more understanding of yourself, because I have been where you are, and I can tell you that forgiving myself and taking responsibility and owning and reframing the debt that I've taken out and the loans and the gifts that I've asked for from loved ones to help me on this journey are actually really good investments in myself. And I believe that because I believe I'm going to make something out of them, and I'm choosing to do that for myself. So if that is helpful for you, I want you to try on some of these new thoughts. I want you to try reframing your experience with your money and your relationship with your money and your financial decisions, and see how it changes the way that you show up in the world and the way that you use your money. This is really big stuff. It's something I love to talk about. And I was just so inspired by reading We Should All Be Millionaires that I just had to share this perspective with you, because if this can help shift you just a little bit, I really, really feel like it's worth it. If you liked what you heard in today's episode and you want to learn more, join my news list, or inquire about working with me, I would love for you to book a call through my website, which is stephanielynn.com, and the link will be in the show notes as well. I also, if you're listening to this live in May 2024, I have a workshop coming up this weekend called Thriving with High Sensitivity. It's a 4-hour workshop at the Reiki Center in the morning from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It includes a wonderful workshop, lots of practices, some actual techniques you can take into your day, and community with other highly sensitive people like you who are going through the exercises so that you can process and learn and do all of that juicy discussing and conversations that I know you love as a highly sensitive person. Lots of time to process, lots of time to reflect with other people, and you're going to learn and walk away with actual practical techniques to make your life better as a highly sensitive person. I love this course. I've taught it a couple times now, and I love seeing the light bulbs come on for people who are experiencing it for the first time. So if you are interested, go to thereikicenter.net so that you can go to their events and schedule and grab your registration so you can join me for the workshop. Thank you so much for listening today, and I hope that this makes an impact on your financial relationship. If you want to send me an email at steph@stephanielynn.com, let me know how this might be changing your thoughts about your finances and your money, because I would love to know that this has affected you and helped move you in a direction that you want to go. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you on next week's episode.
Thanks for listening. If you're ready to take what you learned today to the next level, head over to StephanieLynn, that's LINN.com, and book a consultation call to get started. I can't wait to see you there, my dear HSP.